Picture your dinner table for a moment. I want you to really visualize it. You have your plate, and maybe it is loaded with a beautiful, healthy meal. Perhaps a nice piece of grilled chicken, some roasted root vegetables, maybe a baked potato with a little grass-fed butter. You have your fork in one hand, and sitting right next to that plate, sweating with condensation, is a tall, refreshing glass of ice water. It looks innocent, doesn't it? It looks like the healthiest thing on the table. You probably take a sip between every few bites. You chew, you swallow, you wash it down. You have been told your entire life that hydration is the absolute key to health. You have been told to drink 8 glasses a day. You think you are doing your body a massive favor. You think you are helping flush out toxins and keeping your system running smooth. But I need you to listen closely because this is critical, and it goes against almost everything you have been taught by magazines and casual health advice. If you are drinking that full glass of water while you are eating your meal, you might be single-handedly shutting down your body's ability to repair your knees, your hips, and your hands. You are doing everything else right. You are spending the extra money on organic greens, you are cooking the healthy proteins, you are avoiding the sugar. But that water sitting next to your plate is acting like a barrier. It is stopping the good stuff from getting where it needs to go. A groundbreaking 2024 analysis of digestive efficiency suggests that nearly 60% of adults over the age of 55 are suffering from nutrient malabsorption, not because of what they eat, but because of how they eat. Imagine buying a brand new car and pouring water into the gas tank every time you fill it up. That is what you are doing to your digestion. If you click away now, you are going to keep eating healthy foods that your body turns into inflammation instead of fuel. You will keep wondering why the stiffness never goes away, even though your diet is supposedly perfect. You will keep wondering why you feel bloated and heavy after a salad. Stick with me. We are going to count down the top 5 distinct ways this habit destroys your joints, starting from the most common mistakes and ending with the single most dangerous physiological reaction that is happening inside your stomach right now, a reaction that literally turns your food into a toxic paste. We are going to turn your digestion from a struggle into a machine that actually heals you. Let's begin with mistake number 5, the hydration myth overload. We have to dismantle a belief that has been drilled into your head since grade school. You have been told that you must be drinking water constantly to be healthy. You carry a water bottle everywhere. You sip while you drive, you sip while you watch TV, and naturally, you sip while you eat. But here is the truth that nobody tells you. The human body operates on cycles. It is not a continuous flow system like a garden hose. It is a rhythmic system like a tide. When you drink water during a meal, you are confusing 2 completely different biological operating systems. You have the hydration system, which is designed to filter blood and support your kidneys, and you have the digestion system, which is a chemical incinerator designed to break down matter. Think about doing laundry. You have a wash cycle and a spin cycle. You cannot do both at the same time. If you try to spin the clothes dry while you are still pumping water into the drum, you just end up with a soggy, heavy mess that never gets clean. When you drink with your meal, you are mixing the cycles. You are introducing a solvent, water, into a process that requires friction and chemical concentration. This matters to you because when you mix these signals, your body creates a sensation of false fullness. You feel bloated, not because you ate too much, but because you have waterlogged the food. This puts physical pressure on your diaphragm. Have you ever finished a meal and felt like you needed to unbutton your pants immediately? Or maybe you felt a shortness of breath, just a little bit, like you couldn't take a deep belly breath. That is the water taking up the volume that your stomach needs to churn the food. This pressure does something else. It stresses the vagus nerve. This is the main highway between your gut and your brain. When that nerve is irritated by the distension of a waterlogged stomach, it sends stress signals to your body. It shifts you out of rest and digest mode and into a subtle fight or flight response. And what happens when you are in fight or flight? Your body deprioritizes joint repair. It thinks you are in danger, so it stops sending resources to fix the cartilage in your knee or the inflammation in your knuckles. It saves that energy for survival. So simply by drinking that glass of water, you are telling your nervous system that you are under stress, shutting down the very healing mechanisms you are trying to activate with your healthy food. Now, let's move deeper into the physiology with mistake number 4, the temperature trap. This is a specific mistake that is almost universal in the West, and it is catastrophic for anyone with arthritis or circulation issues. It is the obsession with ice. There is a specific way that 90% of restaurants serve water by default. You sit down, and before you even say hello, they slam down a glass filled to the brim with crushed ice and water. And you drink it. It feels crisp. It feels refreshing. But inside your body, that ice water is acting like a freeze ray. Basic physics tells us that cold causes contraction. If you sprain your ankle, you put ice on it to reduce blood flow and stop the swelling. That is great for an acute injury on the outside of your body, but it is terrible for the inside of your stomach. When you drink ice water, you trigger immediate vasoconstriction in the gut. The tiny blood vessels that line your stomach, the ones responsible for carrying nutrients away to your knees and hips, clamp shut. You are effectively cutting off the supply lines right when the supplies are arriving. But it gets worse. Think about the fat on your plate. Let's say you are eating a healthy piece of salmon, rich in omega-3s, which are amazing for joint pain. Or maybe you are having a steak with some natural fats. At body temperature, those fats are liquid. They are easy to digest. They are ready to be absorbed. Now, imagine taking a spoonful of melted bacon grease or butter and dropping it into a bowl of ice water. What happens instantly? It snaps. It solidifies. It turns into a hard, waxy white sludge. It clumps together in a sticky ball. When you drink ice water with your meal, you are doing that exact science experiment inside your stomach. You are solidifying the fats. You are turning valuable anti-inflammatory oils into a waxy sludge that your enzymes cannot penetrate. Instead of sliding through your system and lubricating your joints, that fat sits there. It creates a greasy coating over the rest of your food, blocking digestion even further. Research from the European Journal of Pharmaceutical and Medical Research has indicated that cold water consumption during meals significantly delays gastric emptying. That means the food sits in your stomach longer, sometimes twice as long, rotting and fermenting because it can't move on. This matters to you every time you try to stand up from a low chair. If your digestion is sluggish and your blood flow is constricted by cold water, your systemic circulation is lower. Your joints are colder, the synovial fluid, the oil in your knees, gets thicker and stickier. You are literally stiffening your body from the inside out. If you absolutely must take a sip to swallow a pill, never, ever use ice. Use warm water. Warm water is a vasodilator. It opens the blood vessels. It relaxes the stomach muscles. It welcomes the food. Ice shuts the door in its face. This brings us to mistake number 3, the mineral heist. This is the one that hurts your wallet as much as your health. You probably spend a decent amount of money on supplements. Maybe you buy calcium for your bones because you are worried about osteoporosis. Maybe you take magnesium for your muscle cramps and sleep. Maybe you even buy expensive collagen powders for your skin and joints. You take them because you want to stay strong. You want to age gracefully. You want to be able to carry your groceries up the stairs without your wrists aching. But here is the hard truth. If you drink water with your meal, you might as well flush those pills down the toilet. Minerals are not like sugar. They don't just dissolve easily. Minerals like calcium, magnesium, zinc, and iron are bound tightly to the food structure. They are locked inside the proteins and fibers of your vegetables and meats. They don't just fall off. They need to be chemically cleaved off. This requires a highly acidic environment. Think of stomach acid like a chemical key. When the acid is strong, pH 1 to 3, it unlocks the bond and releases the calcium so your body can grab it. When you drink water during your meal, you dilute that acid. You raise the pH of your stomach, making it more alkaline, more like water and less like acid. The result? The key no longer fits the lock. The calcium stays attached to the broccoli. The magnesium stays locked inside the spinach. It passes right through your small intestine, through your large intestine, and ends up in the sewage system. You aren't starving for food. You are eating plenty, but your joints are starving for minerals because that glass of water prevented the extraction process. This is a condition called hidden hunger. You are full of calories, but empty of nutrients. This is why you can have a perfect diet and still have brittle bones. This is why you can eat bananas and avocados all day and still have leg cramps at night from magnesium deficiency. You are washing away the chemical tools needed to harvest the gold from your food. Think about the lost profit here. You are paying premium prices for healthy food and supplements, but you are only getting a fraction of the benefit. By simply removing the water glass, you effectively double the nutritional value of the food you are already eating. You get stronger bones for free, just by changing when you drink. Now we are getting into the danger zone. Mistake number 2, the leaky gut riot. This is where discomfort turns into disease. This is where a bad habit turns into chronic pain that ruins your quality of life. Your gut lining is supposed to be a strong, intelligent barrier. I want you to think of it like the bouncer at an exclusive high-end nightclub. The bouncer's name is the mucosal barrier. His job is to only let the VIPs, the digested nutrients, the vitamins, the amino acids, into the club, your bloodstream. He has to keep the bad guys out. The bad guys are toxins, bacteria, and this is crucial, large, undigested food particles. When you dilute your stomach acid with water, the food does not get broken down effectively. The proteins remain in large, jagged chunks. They don't look like nutrients to the bouncer. They look like debris. As these rough, undigested particles move down your intestines, they scrape and scratch against the delicate velvet lining of your gut. It is like rubbing sandpaper against silk. Over time, this causes inflammation in the gut wall. The bouncer gets overwhelmed. He gets knocked out. The doors to the club fly open. This is a phenomenon known in medical terms as intestinal permeability, or commonly leaky gut. The tight junctions between the cells of your gut wall loosen up. Now you have a riot. Toxins, bacteria, and undigested protein chunks slip through the open doors and enter your bloodstream. This is the moment your joint pain begins. Your immune system patrols your blood. It sees these foreign protein chunks floating around, and it panics. It doesn't recognize that piece of chicken because it wasn't digested properly. It thinks it is a virus. It thinks it is an invader. So your immune system launches a full-scale attack. It releases inflammatory cytokines. These are the soldiers of the immune system. They travel through your blood looking for the fight. And where do they settle? They tend to settle in areas of low circulation or previous injury. For most people over 55, that means your knees, your hips, and the small, delicate joints of your fingers. You wake up the next morning with swollen, stiff hands. You think, oh, it must be the rain, or I must have typed too much yesterday. No, it was your dinner. Your body is attacking your own joints because the barrier in your gut was breached. That glass of water weakened the digestion, which broke the barrier, which triggered the war. In fact, leading research from autoimmune experts suggests that you cannot effectively treat autoimmune joint pain without first sealing the gut, and you cannot seal the gut if you are constantly washing down your food with liquid. This is why this matters to you. You could be taking all the anti-inflammatory medication in the world, but if you keep drinking with meals, you are re-injuring yourself 3 times a day. You are keeping the wound open. And finally, we arrive at mistake number 1, the acid dilution disaster. This is the root cause of it all. This is the mechanism that you must understand if you want to be pain-free. This is the secret I promised you at the beginning. To understand this, you have to stop thinking of your stomach as a bag. Most people think it's just a holding tank where food gets mushy. That is wrong. Your stomach is a chemical reactor. It is a precise, dangerous, and powerful environment designed to do one specific job: sterilization and disintegration. I want you to think of your stomach like a campfire in the woods. Imagine it is a cold night. You need to keep warm, and you need to cook raw meat. You build a fire. You need that fire to burn hot. You need a strong, concentrated flame with a bed of glowing red coals to break down the heavy logs and turn them into heat. In your body, stomach acid, hydrochloric acid, or HCl, is that flame. It is incredibly powerful stuff. It has a pH level between 1 and 3. That is almost as strong as battery acid. It has to be. It is designed to melt down solid steak, fibrous beans, and tough kale into a liquid form of energy called chyme. That acid is the only thing standing between a piece of solid food and usable nutrition. It is also your primary defense against bacteria. It sterilizes the food, killing any pathogens before they can enter your system. Now, imagine you have got a roaring campfire going. It is doing its job. You just threw on a big heavy log. And then, right at that moment, you dump a massive bucket of cold water on it. What happens? The fire doesn't just cool down comfortably. It smokes. It struggles. It hisses. The wood doesn't burn anymore. It just sits there, soggy, cold, and black. The heat disappears. The transformation stops. That is exactly what your stomach looks like when you wash down your meal with 12 ounces of water. You are diluting the acid right at the moment you need it to be strongest. You are turning a roaring fire into a smoky, soggy mess. And when the fire is out, the work stops. But the food doesn't just disappear. It stays there. And because the acid isn't strong enough to digest it or sterilize it, something terrible happens. It starts to rot. I don't use that word lightly. It literally putrefies. Because the acid didn't sterilize it, bacteria start to feast on the undigested sugars and proteins. This is a process called fermentation. This fermentation creates gas, massive amounts of gas, methane, hydrogen. This is why you feel that intense pressure an hour after eating. You feel like your stomach is hard as a rock. You feel burpy. You feel flatulent. That isn't just digestion. That is the sign of a chemical disaster. That is the smoke from the wet fire. But the gas is just the uncomfortable part. The real damage is the chemical byproduct. This rotting process produces toxic byproducts that stress the liver and kidneys. So now, instead of absorbing nutrients, your body is busy trying to detoxify the mess you created. It is diverting energy away from your brain, away from your muscles, and away from your joints, just to clean up the spill. This is why you feel the post-meal slump. You know that feeling where you eat lunch and then you just want to take a nap? You feel like your brain is in a fog? That is because your body is exhausted from trying to digest food without the proper tools. You robbed it of its fire, so it has to work 10 times harder to process the wood. So the big question, how do we fix this? This sounds scary, right? It sounds like you've been doing damage for decades, but the human body is miraculously resilient. It wants to heal. It just needs you to stop interfering. You don't have to go thirsty. You don't have to suffer. You just need to build a buffer zone. It is a simple rule of timing that changes everything.
It costs $0 and you can start at your very next meal. Here is the strategy. It is called the 30-30 rule. Part 1. The pre-game buffer. Stop drinking 30 minutes before you take your first bite of food. If you are thirsty, drink your water an hour before the meal. Hydrate well. Drink 2 glasses if you want. Saturate your cells. But when you are 30 minutes out, stop. Put the glass away. This allows your stomach to clear out the liquid. Water passes through an empty stomach very quickly, usually in about 10 to 20 minutes. By giving it that 30-minute buffer, you ensure that your stomach is empty and ready to build up that reservoir of strong acid. It is getting the fire ready for the fuel. It is gathering the kindling. Part 2. The eating window. Eat your meal in peace. Chew your food. This is actually a hidden benefit of not drinking. When you don't have water to wash the food down, you are forced to chew more thoroughly. You can't just do the chipmunk cheek move where you chew twice and swallow with a gulp of liquid. You have to chew until the food is liquid. This triggers the release of saliva, which contains amylase, the first enzyme in digestion. You are mechanically breaking down the food, doing the work in your mouth so your stomach doesn't have to work as hard. You are pre-digesting your food. Part 3. The post-game recovery. Once you swallow your last bite, wait another 30 minutes before you drink a full glass of water. This gives your campfire time to burn hot and process the fuel without interference. It allows the acid to sterilize the food, kill the bacteria, and strip out those minerals we talked about. By the time you drink that water 30 minutes later, the hard work of digestion is already well underway. The food has moved to the next stage. The chyme is formed, and the pyloric sphincter acts as a gatekeeper, allowing the food to move into the small intestine. At this point, water is fine. In fact, at this point, water helps move things along. Try this simple trick. Set a silent timer on your phone when you sit down to eat. Put the phone across the room if you have to. Don't touch the water glass until that timer goes off. It requires a little discipline at first because we are creatures of habit. You will reach for the glass unconsciously. You will feel that urge to wash down a dry bite, but resist it. Chew more. Let your own saliva do the work. The relief in your joints is worth the wait. Now, I know what you are thinking. I can hear the panic in some of you. You are worried about choking. You are worried your mouth will get dry. You are thinking, I can't eat a sandwich without water. I'll choke. Don't panic. You do not need to choke on a piece of dry bread just to follow a rule. We are looking for progress, not perfection. There is a practical exception here. If you need to swallow a pill with your meal, or if you feel a little dry and need to clear your throat, take a sip. But notice I said a sip. A sip is 1 ounce. It is just enough to wet your whistle. It is just enough to help a capsule slide down. It is not a gulp, and it certainly is not a full glass. Think of it like basting a turkey versus washing a car. When you baste a turkey, you add just a tiny bit of moisture to help the process. It enhances the cooking. You don't drag a garden hose into the kitchen and spray the bird down. That would ruin it. You want just enough moisture to help the process, not enough to flood the engine. You can hydrate all you want throughout the day, morning, afternoon, evening, just not in that critical window surrounding your food. And let's address the grandparent scenario. Many of you are active grandparents. You want to be on the floor playing with Legos, or out in the garden planting tulips, or maybe just walking around the zoo with the grandkids. Think about how much more enjoyable those moments would be if you didn't have that nagging, dull ache in your knees. Think about how much more energy you would have if your body wasn't wasting 40% of its power. You want just enough moisture to help the process, not enough to flood the engine. You can hydrate all you want throughout the day, morning, afternoon, evening, just not in that critical window surrounding your food. And let's address the grandparent scenario. Many of you are active grandparents. You want to be on the floor playing with Legos, or out in the garden planting tulips, or maybe just walking around the zoo with the grandkids. Think about how much more enjoyable those moments would be if you didn't have that nagging, dull ache in your knees. Think about how much more energy you would have if your body wasn't wasting 40% of its power trying to digest a waterlogged meal. This isn't just about digestion. It is about freedom. It is about reclaiming your mobility. Now, let's say you have been doing this wrong for 40 years. You have been drinking ice water with every meal since 1980. Your stomach acid might be weak. Your digestion might be sluggish. You might feel like food just sits there like a brick for hours. You can actually jumpstart the fire before you even pick up your fork. You can prime the engine. Try this simple hack. It is used by functional medicine doctors all over the world. Take a small shot glass of water, very small amount. Squeeze a fresh wedge of lemon into it. Or, if you can handle the taste, put 1 teaspoon of raw apple cider vinegar in it. Drink that acidic shot right before your first bite. Why does this work? The sour taste hits your tongue and triggers your salivary glands immediately. But it does something even more important. It sends a signal down the vagus nerve to your stomach. It screams, "Wake up, food is coming." It is like ringing the dinner bell for your digestion. It signals the parietal cells in your stomach lining to start producing HCl naturally. It lowers the pH of your stomach slightly, priming the environment. It is like throwing a little bit of lighter fluid on the coals before you add the wood. It ensures that when the food lands, the fire catches immediately. This simple acid assist can make a huge difference in how you feel an hour after you eat. It reduces bloating, it reduces gas, and it ensures that those proteins are broken down so they don't trigger that immune response we talked about. So let's recap the plan to save your joints. Hydration is vital. You need water to keep your cartilage slippery and your blood volume healthy, but you just can't do it while you are chewing. You have to keep the fire burning hot. You need to let the proteins break down completely so they can rebuild your knees instead of triggering an immune attack. You need to protect your joints from the inflammation caused by a leaky gut. You need to get your money's worth out of the minerals in your food. Create that 30-minute window. Stop drinking before you eat. Wait 30 minutes after you eat. Ditch the ice forever during meals. Keep your stomach warm and active. If you have kidney issues or are on strict fluid restrictions from your doctor, always consult them first regarding how much you drink. But for most of us, this silence at the dinner table, this absence of the water glass, is the best medicine we can take. You are going to feel a difference. It might happen in 3 days. It might take 2 weeks. But one day, you are going to stand up from the dinner table and you are going to realize something strange. You don't feel heavy. You don't feel bloated.
And when you walk to the kitchen to do the dishes, your knees don't creak. You feel light. You feel energized. That is the power of letting your body do what it was designed to do. Now that you know how to eat, you need to know exactly what to eat to lower that inflammation even further. We have a specific guide on the best foods that act like natural painkillers for arthritis. Check out our other great video about the top 5 anti-inflammatory foods you should be eating every day. Tap the card on your screen right now to watch it. It is the perfect next step after fixing your hydration habits. I will see you over there.